Welcome to Beaver Tracks, a damn good podcast, bringing you inside the world of admissions and providing you with a behind-the-scenes look at what goes on in Beaver Nation. I'm Blake Vawter, Senior Associate Director of Admissions. Thanks for tuning in. My guest today is Itchung Cheung, Academic Programs Manager and Assistant Professor, as well as Program Director for Research Experiences for Undergraduates at the Hatfield Marine Science Center. Itchung, welcome. Thanks for being on the podcast today.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So let's jump in a little bit. What is the Hatfield Marine Science Center? And maybe give us a little overview of that and kind of how long you've been working at Hatfield.
Yeah, so the Hatfield Marine Science Center is Oregon State University's Marine Science Center. So for all the students that attend OSU, this is your Marine Science Center. We're a gateway to a lot of coastal research, coastal activities along the Oregon coast, and we partner with a number of different agencies and organizations. I think really the Hatfield Marine Science Center kind of embodies partnerships on the Oregon coast, partnerships with government agencies that I'm happy to highlight, but also other OSU entities on the Oregon coast that include down on the South Coast, the Port Orford Field Station in Port Orford, as well as the Seafood Lab up in Astoria. So it really encompasses I would say a pretty comprehensive resource, I would say, for our students in marine sciences.
Great description. That's awesome. So tell us real quick a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got to Oregon State and the Hatfield Marine Science Center, and we'll maybe talk a little bit more about what your work entails.
Yeah, so I was hired 16 years ago. Can't believe it's been that long. Hired by George Bullard, who was the director of the Hatfield Marine Science Center. And his interest was wanting to develop undergraduate programs specifically at the Marine Science Center. At that time, it primarily was a research facility that provided a lot of support, seawater access, seawater tables. We had a K-12 Sea Grant program for school groups to come. And we had a signature spring marine biology and ecology course through the College of Science and Department of Integrative Biology. That was the marine biology and ecology course. And then we also had a fall term focused on coastal ecosystem or coastal ecology and resource management. And that was a 5-credit capstone course through Fisheries and Wildlife, well, now known as the Fisheries, Wildlife, and Conservation Sciences Department. That's in the College of Ag Sciences. I should highlight that the spring course has been going on for at least 30, maybe 35 years now. And it's one class, I believe it's 16 credits.
Wow, that's a long history of being integral part of the student's experience on the coast. So
yeah, and now I think as a result of a lot of partnerships and Dr. Bullard, who was the director, bringing me on, really was to try to increase the access of undergraduate students to the Marine Science Center, and particularly increasing the number of internships. We had a pilot REU program, which is supported by the National Science Foundation. I think at that time it supported like eight students here at the Marine Science Center, and maybe 1 or 2 in Corvallis with the College of Earth, Ocean, Atmospheric Sciences. And then bringing me on, the idea was to expand and grow our internship program through NSF, and then also develop a summer session term where we'd have a number of summer session field courses. I think at the time when I started, we had maybe 2 courses.
So really expanding the student experience there at Hatfield.
Yeah. And it was clear So when I was an undergrad, I was a marine biology major, and I was a community college transfer student, and I was also first in my family to graduate from high school, let alone go to college. And so I really wanted to be at a marine science center. I really wanted to study marine biology. And I really wanted to be involved with looking at the marine ecology and organisms and the environment. And I didn't have that really as an undergrad. And in part, there just seemed to be a bit of a disconnect between the marine lab that at the institution that I attended to and the main campus. And so my work was really trying to bridge that and let OSU students know that there are opportunities as well as create those opportunities. So back when I started, there was a real focus on first year student experiences. I don't know if you remember that. We developed U Engage courses, which were in the fall term for entering first year students, learning about a particular topic, but also learning about university culture with the idea of keeping retention of those students after the fall term. And I think it was really successful. And then as part of that, we developed a 1-credit weekend course here at the Marine Science Center in multiple colleges and departments. The first one being a marine habitats course. This is one I still teach through the College of Science in biology. It's BI 111, Intro to Marine Life in the Sea. And then we branched to include two more in the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife, focused on birds and marine mammals. That is now together as one weekend course focused on both birds and marine mammals. And that's FW 113. And then we actually developed one in College of Forestry looking at coastal forests. And then we're planning on working on one with the geology department on main campus.
Wow, that's super exciting. That's a real expansion of what's offered to students.
Yeah, well, I mean, really, we're trying to really trying to support undergraduates coming into the university to understand that they have this marine science center on the coast, and marine science is very interdisciplinary and crosses multiple colleges and departments, and that students can come out to the coast, learn about the coastal environment through different lenses of disciplines. And also learn about the upper division courses that we have at the Marine Science Center, as well as the research opportunities. And that is a whole other aspect of the Marine Science Center that we've really have barely discussed talking.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that in a minute. Let's talk a little bit about the kind of the components of Hatfield, and then also some of the new construction out there. And we can maybe talk a little bit about how all that works together.
Yeah, sure. So the Marine Science Center is a 49-acre campus. We've got multiple buildings on site. The university leases the property from the Yaquina, the Yaquina Bay Port Authority. We leased it for 50 years for $1, and we just recently renewed that for another 50 years for $1, which kind of shows how significant this Newport community values the presence of OSU, all of its partners, and all of its students here out on the coast at this Marine Science Center.
So let me interject. So for those that might not be familiar with the landscape, how far away is the Hatfield Marine Science Center in Newport from the main campus in Corvallis?
Yeah, door to door, I would say exactly 60 minutes, and then you got, plan for parking, particularly parking on main campus. Parking here at the Marine Science Center isn't a problem, nor do we charge for parking. But 60 minutes. We're right here on Yaquina Bay, here in Newport, right on the water. Our students access the bay just through the back door of our labs and our classrooms, or via vehicles from the Marine Science Center up and down the Oregon coast to different field sites.
That's great. So tell us a little bit about Hatfield. Like where do students engage? Like what kind of things? I think you mentioned, we talked offline a little bit about the library and then also the new marine sciences building. So maybe talk about that.
Yeah. So we have let me start with our public wing. Most folks are familiar with the Marine Science Center and recognize the Visitor Center. That's a place where we highlight a lot of the research questions that are being addressed by OSU, as well as several of the government partners that are co-located on the campus. It also has a lot of flora and fauna of the Oregon coast. One of the highlights is our giant Pacific octopus that is in center stage at our aquarium there. Yeah. That's our public wing, but I think a lot of people don't realize there's so much more to Hatfield. We have a whole wing that is plumbed with seawater, that holds seawater tables, saltwater tables that allow us to hold captive animals, collect animals out in the field, bring them here to the Marine Science Center and observe them. We have an incredible library, the Gwynn Library. It's the largest library on the West Coast that's devoted to marine science. And that's open Monday through Friday, usually bank hours, I think 8 or 9 a.m. to 5, 8 a.m. to 5 to the public. It's a great space. We also have a number of research entities at the Marine Science Center that include the Environmental Protection Agency. They're focused on estuary research. We have the U.S. Department of Agricultural Research Service. They're focused on aquaculture. We have the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife, which looks at marine birds and mammals along wildlife refuges along the Oregon coast. We also have 3 divisions of NOAA. That's the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, folks who put together our climate models, our weather, give our weather reports. And so within NOAA, we have the Northwest Fisheries Science Center, the Alaska Fisheries Science Center, and the Pacific Marine Environmental Laboratory. So the first 2 focus on fisheries work, and the third one uses acoustics, microphones, underwater, hydrophones, to look at and monitor seismic activity, earthquakes and underwater volcanoes, as well as mapping the bottom of the ocean and also tracking deep diving whales. So a lot of different agencies, and then we have one state agency. This is our final agency. That's the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife and their Marine Resources Program. And so they're in charge of monitoring and facilitating the Oregon Coast Marine Reserves that are offshore all along our coast. And then finally, what's really exciting is that we have a new amazing building. This is the Gladys Valley Marine Studies building. It's the first building of its kind on the West Coast, engineered and designed to withstand a 9.0 earthquake and still operate, and serve as a vertical evacuation center in the event of a tsunami. And so when you come out and look at this building, you can tell it was designed with a purpose. And so there's a ramp that goes up to the top of it from the outside. People can go up to the rooftop during the day and check out the views from the top of the roof. It's supposed to support 900 or so folks on top of that roof for 2 days in the event of a tsunami. Is one of 3 evacuation centers in that particular region. And it really provides more peace, what's the phrase, peace of mind, having that building there. So in addition to the emergency aspects of it, it also is home to the Marine Mammal Institute on the third floor, which is this institute that focuses on really cetacean biology, oceanography. We also have on the second floor an incredible marine genomics lab that's shared with multiple groups. We have our state fisheries geneticists located in the building. We have a lot of fisheries genetics happening at the university. And then on the first floor, we have this beautiful auditorium, several classrooms, and then the big prize is our innovation lab. So what we nickname the iLab. And the innovation lab is run by and directed by the Drummond Wengrove, who is our iLab manager. And it's really combining a lot of marine science and engineering together. I mean, it's really I would say, a catalyst for amazing projects that focus on everything from developing the next prototype of an instrument to adapting current prototypes, to developing industry partnerships and projects that align with understanding our marine environment, sustainable fisheries, climate science. It's really an incredible space.
Wow, that's it sounds amazing. The iLab sounds particularly interesting. Is there any like an example of a project that maybe has been worked on there or that students might be involved in?
Yeah, see, there are a number of different projects, and what we really should do is we should have you do an interview with Drummond Wengrove. But some of the projects move from there's a sustainable, like a fisheries mechanism. It's called a block, and with that block, it's a winch to pull up crab pots. Okay, yeah. And so with that winch, they're trying to create a safer, quicker winch system to pull those crab pots off. So if you know anything about Newport, it's the Dungeness crab capital of the world. And Dungeness crab is one of the most valuable fishery commodities for the state of Oregon, and also happens to be one of the most dangerous fisheries because a lot of the folks that go out go in some of the worst weather around this time of the year to harvest and collect crabs. So that's one project. Another one is sorting of salmon. So we got a project where we've got salmon that are tagged with a pit tag in their nose. And when they come upstream, you want to sort the ones that are tagged and the ones that are not, the ones that are wild. And so they're developing, and this is a project that an intern got to work on over the summer, where it's a contraption where they swim up into this contraption, and there's a gate or a door that swings one way or the other, basically based on a reader that recognizes the pit tag and will flip it one way or another. So if it has a pit tag, it'll flip it one way and it'll swim into a holding area. And if it doesn't, then it flips another way, and they can continue going all the way upstream to its native waters to spawn.
Wow, boy, that'd be quite the resume line for a student to say worked on such a project. That's
yeah,
cool.
Absolutely.
So what kind of, I guess, talking about students and their experiences, what kinds of, I know it's probably could take up an hour's worth of time to talk about all the different things, but what are the kind of things that students engage in from a research perspective? And maybe then also if you could talk a little about the kind of what's the career path? You have so many agencies that I assume that students can network with. What sorts of things are of a typical student's experience?
Yeah, so typically we see students come in, they spend a weekend in one of our first year weekend courses at the Marine Science Center, and they kind of get a sense of the land here and the environment here at the Marine Science Center. They end up taking some of our upper division courses, whether it's their spring, summer, or fall term. And through that, they start really delving into learning the basics of research, doing either field or lab research, some basic analytical methods. And then generally those students will apply for a number of internships or volunteer in a research lab. And when I say that, that's more than just an OSU lab, more than just our OSU faculty. So all the government agencies that I mentioned before that are co-located here also have labs that they bring in students to work on a number of projects. It could be as simple as participating in NOAA's fish cutting party, which is something that they hold every summer, where they're processing hundreds and hundreds of samples of salmon caught off the Columbia River mouth. And they learn basic dissection methods to remove various aspects of that salmon for different research teams within NOAA, pulling out ear bones, the otoliths of the fish, to gut contents, to looking at parasites, because you can tell where that salmon has been based on what kind of parasites that it has in its gut, to taking fin clippings. So all these different things that students get to learn from this one activity with a federal agency. That's a simple one. A more comprehensive one is students spending an entire 10 weeks here at the Marine Science Center in the summer, typically, doing a research project mentored by a researcher or faculty member. Some of those projects range from going out into the mudflats and looking at mud shrimp populations, to folks that are looking at video recordings of the marine reserves and trying to document what kind of fish species are associated with which habitats, to students who are looking at data obtained from drifters out in the ocean and looking at how ocean movement and currents are happening, to students who are working on like some of the engineering projects that are coming out of the iLab. So a full range of projects from basic ecology to applied science.
Wow, that's incredible. And as I understand it, there's going to be some even newer construction coming to help those students that are going to be living and studying and doing research at Hatfield and the Marine Studies building coming up, right? So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we have some new housing slated to be completed, I think, by summer 2025. It will include, I believe, 70 plus apartments to support students, staff, and faculty that will be working here at the Marine Science Center or taking courses or visiting. It will be located up above the tsunami area, inundation area, up on the ridge near the Oregon Coast Community College, in this beautiful forested area, just about a mile from the Marine Science Center.
Wow, that'll be a great facility, because I know that students, it's pretty popular for students to kind of vie for those spots to study for the 10-week period.
Yeah, I mean, it really is our bottleneck for a lot of programming and courses out here. So we're excited to see that happen.
That's great. You know, I know that having been to Hatfield a few times, I think one of the coolest visuals I got was actually standing outside and looking out the front door and seeing the research vessels docked right out front. I think there was a NOAA vessel and I think one of the OSU research vessels. There's a new one coming out that just, I think, is making its way to Newport right now. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the research vessels and the connection to Hatfield?
Yeah. So one of the things the thing that you point out is our ship operations right in front there. I don't know if we just completed the renovation of the new docks for are for the Tawny, the research vessel Tawny, which is coming. So this is a new research class vessel that OSU basically designed. And then not only designed, will be made into 3 new vessels, and OSU will get the first one. The first one has been completed, and again, like I said, it's on its way. It's a vessel that was designed from scratch with the perspective of marine scientists. And we're excited because I believe it is the largest vessel that OSU will have had here at the Marine Science Center. It's, I believe, just under 200 feet, 199 feet. And so, so we're really excited about that vessel. We did have the research vessel, the Oceanus, which was here, and then it was retired. We do have the Pacific Storm, the RV Pacific Storm. That's actually parked across the bay on the other side. And then we have a number of smaller vessels like the Alaka. The Alaka is one that typically is used for a lot of our courses. Our students will go out with a class to collect a number of samples, either through the marine biology and ecology course in the spring term, the coastal ecology resource management course through fisheries and wildlife in the fall term. We also have the estuary ecology course through the College of Earth, Ocean, Atmospheric Sciences that does collections using that vessel. And then a number of other student research opportunities happen on that vessel, as well as some of our other smaller boats. And I should highlight that across the street from the Marine Science Center, we also have the NOAA's Marine Operations Center for the Pacific. So this is the headquarters for NOAA's Pacific Fleet of research vessels that are using this place as their headquarters before they go out to different areas within the Pacific Ocean. There's a Atlantic one as well. That's the NOAA Marine Operations Center for the Atlantic. And currently it's in Norfolk, Virginia, but it's actually moving to Newport, Rhode Island.
Okay. They'll have to specify which Newport they're speaking of. But
right.
What a great, I mean, just the connection, the access is, I mean, where else would you get that at a university?
I would say I would like to challenge anyone to highlight any other marine science center in the country that has this much dynamic activity with this many partners, with this many different government agencies in partnership with the commercial fishing industry. And that partnership is one that is cooperative versus confrontational.
Wow, that's great. Can you talk? So one thing that I found sort of interesting is every time it kind of pops up is the Big Fish Lab. So and its connection to Hatfield and Newport. So this is, as I understand it, focuses a lot on shark research. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So the Big Fish Lab is, I would say, a fairly new lab started by Taylor Chappell, who's in the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife and Conservation Sciences.
Now he's been on Shark Week, hasn't he? Didn't he have he had a little segment on Shark Week? I think a couple.
I don't know. Possibly, I would not be surprised. They do a lot of social activities. They just had kind of a Sharktober event here last month. Where they dissected a necropsy or a dissection of a shark in our auditorium. But yeah, they do a lot of shark research on our coast here. And as well as here at the Marine Science Center, we've had a number of different, how would I say, cartilaginous fish here on our site, looking at work between the interaction between the cartilaginous fish and magnetic fields. Because part of this piece is that on the Oregon coast, we also are looking at marine renewable energy. So the Pacific Marine Renewable Energy Center is located here. They've built a facility just south of us to look at how marine energy or energy can be harvested or harnessed or created using wave action. And they've set up a pipe system or a pipeline that allows them to connect technologies that are being tested out in the ocean to see if they are able to create energy and then brought back to land and then put into our grid system. There's a lot of focus on that and also its impact on our marine environment. And so one of the things that the Big Fish Lab is looking at is how those magnetic forces, electric magnetic forces may affect movement of sharks and other species.
Yeah, wow. That's interesting how different research pathways kind of intersect there. That's kind of
yeah. And I have to caveat this that I have to admit that in my 16 years here, it's been hard to keep track of all the stuff that's happening here. In particular, the last 5 years, so much growth has happened here at the Marine Science Center that there are just a number of people that you could interview specifically around the work that they're doing out here. Anywhere from, again, looking at how climate science or how climate change is affecting our coastal regions, looking at how communities are affected, how our environment is affected, how we're trying to monitor it, as well as technologies and how we can come up with solutions for the impacts of climate change.
So a couple questions. So this is more about, I guess, things you've seen or things you've experienced. So what's one of the most unexpected things that students would find studying at Hatfield?
Okay, so I think the obvious one is access. I think students are just incredibly amazed at the research activity that's happening here. And not only the research activity, but also the focus on how you communicate that research, how you communicate that science. The Marine Studies Initiative has been fantastic in kind of really highlighting all the different activities that are happening out here, as well as the piece about how does this equate or communicate to the public, to our population. One of the seminars that we had at the Marine Science Center really brought home to me how important sociology is to conservation sciences, because one of the pieces that we don't really focus on that we're starting to recognize and realize is one of the most important aspects of conservation sciences, human behavior, right? So we've studied and looked at our impacts. We've studied and looked at how the environment changes. But one thing that we are now just really scratching the surface is trying to understand how we change behaviors and motivations. Because if we keep moving and progressing at this pace, there's some dire consequences to that. We're going to see some major changes. We're already seeing that. So one of the concerns is looking at bringing in other lenses from College of Liberal Arts, looking at how historically how we've interacted with the environment. How can we change that? Looking at human behavior, our incentives, our consequences. How do we change that behavior? How do we look and how do we understand? And how are we connected to the coastal region?
Yeah, that's a really great point, because as impactful as research can be, and as eye-opening as research can be, if you aren't able to communicate it to the people it affects, or that has some vested interest in it, right? It's probably, you're not really going to change a whole lot.
Right. So that's kind of the big picture thing. But I would say for our students, I mean, wow, one of the most incredible experiences that happened just this past spring term was our marine biology class was out in the Rocky Intertidal, and they're doing observations out on the coast. And literally, a giant Pacific octopus came out of a tide pool and fist bumped one of our students.
No way.
It was incredible. I think we have video footage of this, and the student was blown away. They were leaning over, looking into a tide pool, and out comes this giant Pacific octopus and pulls out its tentacle and reaches out of the water and touches the hand of the student. And the student was just blown away. Everyone was blown away. I've been here for 16 years, and never have I ever seen that occur.
Wow.
So that was amazing.
That is incredible.
So the kind of I would say the experience and the connection, the real world connection that our students have to the environment here, the folks who work on the environment and our communities, is, I think, the biggest impact for our students in understanding and moving forward in getting careers in these areas. And there are a number of careers, from doing the research to managing the resources, to developing policy, to communicating the science, to changing human behavior, all these different areas, developing new technologies and innovations to better understand the environment, to change our use of the environment and our impact. Unquestionably, this has got to be one of the most dynamic places for students to come.
Wow, that's incredible. What a great story. Wow, unbelievable. So, well, you've given us so much great time and information. Is there anything that you'd want to share with the audience that maybe we haven't already talked about, or something that just you might want to just leave with folks?
Yeah, I would say that for students who are interested in the marine sciences, there are many different entryways into marine sciences or marine studies. And the first thing you do is try to educate yourself on all the different things that are happening, reading about some of the research that's happening out here, reading articles about what's going on out here. And at some point, you're going to come across something that just, oh my gosh, that is something I want to be engaged in. Or, oh, I'd like to bring these different pieces together and focus on that. So I think what's nice about OSU is it really allows our students to explore different areas and come at marine sciences from different areas and different disciplines, different majors, and different colleges.
Great. Again, thanks. Thank you so much for the time. Can I get a go Beavs?
Go Beavs!
Go Beavs! Excellent. Thanks so much. All right, for our audience, thanks. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for having me.